Hi, this is Madcat. I'm going to start trying to do videos. However, I'm not really good at doing videos. I don't really have a whole lot of I don't have a good camera. I don't really have a whole lot of graphics to do. So I'm going to follow in the footsteps of Mundane Matt and try to do videos kind of like he does them to kind of make up for those difficulties. Now, today I'm doing a kind of a response to a person on YouTube. And I really feel like that these individuals didn't really understand what I was saying. And I think it's something that needs to be said. I'm going to link to the video down below. It was a video by Stefan. I cannot pronounce your last name, Molyneux. I apologize if I didn't state that correctly. Now, let me give you a recap of the video before I really do it. It was called The Virus of Female Responsibility Avoidance. Shows a picture of a woman in responsibility, question mark. So the video is about a man who's in a relationship with a woman. He's worried about the stability of the relationship, and Stephen focuses on the fact that she cheated on him. And that it's not so much that he was still with her, but that he kind of makes excuses about his reaction to it. That, he states that he was mad, but then he eventually forgave her and moved on. What happened is that they were dating for a couple of months. She, I guess, works at a ski hill, and she got really, really drunk one night, blackout drunk, and then she woke up next to a guy having no memory that she had sex with him. Now, I'm not going to call it a question whether or not that this is actually possible or whether or not she was actually telling the truth at this point, but she decided not to tell her boyfriend, the guy that was calling in, that she had sex, that she cheated on him. Now, she later states that this was a mistake. She didn't tell him about it. And, that's kind of fishy to me, because if it was truly a mistake, she would have told him right away. She probably didn't because she feared, he would break up with me and I don't want that. Well, if he doesn't know that I did it, it should be okay. And that to me right there is an indication that you probably shouldn't be with this person, because if they did commit a mistake, they should have told you right up front. The fact that they didn't, it was a violation of trust. But what ended up happening is he got chlamydia from this girl. And he didn't find out until he started peeing blood. And that's unfortunate that happened. And Stephen basically stated that she was at fault for not telling you, because then you could have gotten tested for an STD, or she could have gotten tested for an STD if she admitted it to you. And that, he was a victim of forgiving females, that he has a lot of females, because his mother stated that them still staying together was a good thing, even though his brother said he probably should leave her. And by right that he probably should have left her, but it was his choice to stay. But he just forgave her because he grew to accept that about himself. And I can see that being a problem. Now, a lot of people in the comments were basically saying that, well, she's 100% at fault for everything. She's a bad person. So I'm going to read to you the conversation that I had with Daniel, and I'll go ahead and start. I would agree that she put him at risk by not telling him that she slept with another person. I also agree it wasn't a mistake, as she would have told him up front that it happened. She decided not to, so thus a regret, not a mistake. However, with the whole STD issue, a couple things jump out at me. How important was testing to them when they first started having sex? Did they both get testing done before they started having sex, just to make sure neither had an STD? Did he wear a condom with her when they had sex? Probably not, since he got infected. It appears that STD wasn't important to their relationship until one of them got infected. Likely they did a verbal confirmation. Are you clean? Yes. Are you clean? Yes. Let's have unprotected sex. Given their casual attitude towards an STD, then it's both of their faults that it happened. What if she had something before they started dating? And by not requiring an STD test before they had sex, which all partners should do, even if the practice safe sex, then you can't really put blame on her for bringing an STD into the relationship. If, however, STD testing was required for the relationship and she had sex with someone else, then deciding not to tell him, then it was her responsibility to tell him she had sex with someone else accidentally and state that she intends to get tested to be sure she didn't get something. Based on the conversation, I put STD issue on both of them rather than just her. Neither seemed concerned with it until both had one. However, had there been no STD, she would have likely not told him she had sex with someone. While not exclusive, she was sexually active with two men. So basically, the thing about chlamydia is that in women, most of the time it doesn't show symptoms. In men, it only shows symptoms about 50% of the time. And it usually starts showing symptoms about 3 weeks after infection. Now, this kind of ties into the fact that she did have sex with another man that she was blackout drunk for. That kind of comes into question on whether or not she was actually blackout drunk or not. I've have been blacked out drunk before where there were parts of my night that I don't remember. Steven saying, well, I don't think it actually exists. Well, just because it's never happened to you doesn't mean it doesn't exist. I've done it before. Luckily, I haven't woken up to someone that I didn't remember. But the thing is that with chlamydia, for men, it only shows up about 50% of the time. Usually shows up about 3 to 4 weeks after it happened, but it's also possible that it can take a couple of months to happen. That's also one of the common sign is pain in the testicles. So it's also possible that he was showing signs before this thing happened and didn't equate it to, oh, I must have an STD. Possibly is like, oh, my testicles are a little sore this morning. I'll just take an aspirin for it to go away. It is entirely possible that she got chlamydia before the start of their relationship, that he got the STD before she cheated on him. Here's the other thing, is that the only way he could have gotten the STD is if he had unprotected sex with her. Now, based on the information he's provided, he probably had unprotected sex with her right at the beginning. I mean, by the time he found out, they were only dating for 4 months, which means at month 3, she cheated on him, even though they weren't exclusive yet. I mean, that's not really an excuse. She should have still told him that she had sex with someone else. Assuming the best case scenario, they started having sex when she came back from the ski hill. At that point, they had unprotected sex. He got infected. 3 weeks later, he found out. That puts us into month 4. That tells me that when they started having unprotected sex, because he should have been wearing a condom. You don't have unprotected sex with a person that you start dating. You get STD testing done first. But he put himself at risk by having unprotected sex with her, period. Now, I'm not saying that he should take all the blame in this. She had sex with someone else. She didn't tell him about it. It was a breach of trust, and she did infect him with an STD. So, that's why I'm saying he is partially responsible for this, because he didn't demand STD testing. Well, let's go ahead and look at the response. Okay, so Daniel responds to me. He quotes me first. It appears that STD wasn't important to the relationship until one of them got infected. Likely they did a verbal confirmation. Given their casual attitude towards STD, then it is both of their fault that this happened. So his response.
What? Where did you get this information? Nowhere in the video did the caller say this, and the blame falls squarely on the woman in the relationship. She did not inform him that she had sex with another person. Stop trying to make excuses. We have the information he provided and can only go on that.
Yes, we only have the information that he provided. And people always tell 100% of the truth, right? We only have his story. We don't have her story. We don't have a chance for her to defend what's happening. So we have to take into consideration that there's some facts that we don't have. Steven did not even address the issue of, well, why were you having unprotected sex with someone you're only dating a few months? Why didn't you get tested? Which would have been my thing. It's like, well, why didn't you do this? I'm not trying to shame him, but I am trying to ask a legitimate question of why didn't you do this? So because of this, he had unprotected sex with a girl that he just started dating, and he took her word for it that she was clean. So based on this, the blame doesn't fall squarely on the woman in the relationship. She has a lot of blame going her way that she cheated on him and didn't tell him about it and potentially brought an STD into the relationship, but not caring about having an STD in the first place and choosing to have unprotected sex with her. Let me put that out there. Unprotected sex. When a man has unprotected sex with a woman, he runs the risk of getting an STD. It's also true that if a woman has sex with a man that doesn't wear a condom, she runs the risk of having an STD. We can't just say, oh, well, she cheated on him, so we should blame her for everything, including him getting an STD. It's not his fault in any way. I mean, yeah, technically he didn't wear a condom when they had sex, but if she didn't bring the STD in, then there wouldn't have been a problem. Well, the same can be said that if he had worn a condom, then he wouldn't have gotten chlamydia. If they gotten tested first, it would have found out that she did have chlamydia, which then raises the question of, where did she get it from? And then she could have, if they decided to continue to have sex after the fact, then she could have gotten treated for it, gotten it out of her system, and then had sex and not have gotten an STD. That's, of course, assuming that after admitting that she had unprotected sex with someone after getting blackout drunk, they decided to be together. Responsible. But all you're looking at is, oh, well, she was unfaithful in a relationship, brought an STD in, and infected him. Let's ignore the fact that he had unprotected sex. This is what happens when you have unprotected sex. You run the risk of getting an STD. If he cared about his health and said, look, I want to have unprotected sex with you, let's get tested just to make sure that we're both safe. It probably went, hey, baby, why don't you take the condom off and let's just do it all natural. They're like, okay, let's do it that way. That's probably what happened. Assuming, of course, they started having unprotected sex when she came back from her job, and that she didn't have unprotected sex with him until after she cheated on him. More than likely, they had unprotected sex at the beginning of their relationship because this was only month 3. But we don't know specifically when they started, but at some point they had unprotected sex without getting tested first. So my response, I'm not making excuses. Where did I get this from? Let's see. I've been around people before. I know how they operate. But you have to look at the undercurrent of the issue, not just the information provided. I did tech support for a number of years. What I can tell you is that people don't tell you everything. Most of what I gave was hypothetical information. I didn't state that these were facts. I hypothesized what their situation was at the beginning and based on the possibility of where the fault lies. Yes, she had sex with someone else and used an excuse of being drunk to escape responsibility deciding not to tell him. That alone is bad, and he should have left her for that. I agree. However, if you actually read what I wrote, based on his character, the fault of STD is on both of them, not just her. More likely, he didn't demand they both get tested before they had unprotected sex. I'm quite certain if he had, he would have mentioned it. But you seem ready to cast all blame on her, and he faced no responsibility at all. Any relationship I've been in, we didn't have unprotected sex until both of us got tested. Then we agree we don't have it with anyone else. By his own admission, he didn't discuss it with her while having sex with her about them being exclusive to each other. His response to me, let's see, I've been around people, I know how they operate, quoting me.
Fantastic, but that has nothing to do with what the caller said. We can only work with what he put forward and nothing else.
That's an interesting point, Daniel. You seem ready to tar and feather her, to put her on the stake and light the fire. But by your own admission, we can only work with what he put forward and nothing else. How about getting her side of the story? But you don't want to do that. You just want to say...
well, you know, he says she's evil, so we'll take his word for it.
Now I'm willing to give him the benefit of the doubt, the information he's stating, but there's still some discrepancies in the fact that he had unprotected sex with her. I mean, you can try to steer this any way you want, but he had unprotected sex with her. He put himself at risk to get an STD with this girl. Most likely not having her get tested first. So, I mean, how do you respond to that?
Oh, well, she brought an STD in.
Yeah, she could have brought it in when she cheated on him. She could have also brought it in before the relationship started. However, if you actually read what I wrote, he's quoting me again, based on his character, the fault of STD is on both of them, not just her.
I disagree. Had he been informed that she slept with another guy prior to that sexual encounter that gave him the STD, then yes, they're both at fault. But this is not the case. He was not informed, so she's the one who's wrong, not him.
Quoting me again, more than likely he didn't demand they both get tested before they had unprotected sex, which is a good point. His response,
if she was not sleeping with other men and he was not sleeping with other women, then why would they need to get tested?
Oh, so were they virgins when they got together? Did they not have sex with any other person before they had sex with each other? There's a big assumption right there. I mean, you're getting at me for making assumptions, but that is probably the biggest assumption right there, that they were both virgins before they started having sex with each other. Oh, but they never said if they had sex with other people before their relationship, so let's assume that they were virgins. No, they probably weren't virgins. They probably had sex before this point. But it's always important to get testing before you have unprotected sex with someone. I can't believe I'm the first person to tell this to you, Daniel, because there is the possibility that one of you has an STD and are not showing signs of it, which is very possible. There's a lot of STDs out there that doesn't always show symptoms, and it's important for your safety. And just because you start a relationship and you both say, well, you know, I don't have an STD and I haven't had sex with someone in a couple of months, doesn't mean that it's like, oh, well, then we don't need to get tested. You get tested.
Again, she is the one responsible for coming forward and saying, I had sex with another man last night. I don't think we should have sex till I get tested for STDs.
Okay, well, he's also equally responsible for saying, you know, we're going to have unprotected sex. Let's get tested. I'm stating that I'm betting he didn't do this. So he quotes me again. But you seem ready to cast all blame on her and he faced no responsibility at all. His response,
in this situation, he is a victim of someone who withheld information to him that led him to getting STD. He is not to blame. She is.
That's not entirely true. If you took STD out of the equation in that, then yes, she's entirely to blame that she cheated on him, she breached trust, and didn't tell him. That is bad. So his response,
Well, that's fine. She should have come forward and told him he had sex with her with another man so he could make the informed decision of whether or not he wanted to risk getting an STD.
he still ran the risk of having unprotected sex with her, which means he holds some of the responsibility of what happens to him. Now, there's no way he could have known that she slept with someone else on the trip, but more than likely did not get STD testing done when they first had sex. He ran the risk. Some of the responsibility comes on him. Now, if he had gotten STD testing done beforehand and still didn't discuss the possibility of being exclusive to each other, which I find a bit questioning on that. It's like, oh, we got STD testing done. Well, oh, are we still exclusive with each other? She's like, I don't know. Are we? Oh, I don't know. And then just left it at that. Does that really seem like a conversation that happens? So then she's like, oh, well, I'm drunk. I'm not exclusive with my boyfriend. Let's go ahead and have sex. Well, I'm not going to tell him that I had sex because we're not really exclusive. He doesn't really need to know that. Oh, shit. He found out. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to. Well, we were really exclusive, though, so you can't really hold that against me, but I didn't mean to give you an STD. Do you think that's how the conversation happened? Do you really think that? Because if you do, you know nothing about human behavior at all. More than likely, they had unprotected sex at the beginning of the relationship, which they shouldn't have done. They didn't get any testing done. They didn't discuss the fact that the relationship was exclusive. She cheated on him. Most likely got an STD at that point, which I can agree with. More than likely that happened. They continued to have sex. He found out he got an STD from her. And she's like, well, it was an accident. I didn't mean for it to happen. I'm sorry I didn't tell you about it. Because more than likely, if she had told him right away about it, he would have forgiven her and not demanded an STD testing. Because in his mind, women can do no wrong. So another person responded. He said,
I would like to say something to you, just so that I make my position clear. If you think that contracting an STD from casual, unprotected sex absolves you from the responsibility of having to tell other people you intend to have sex with for whatever reason, you are evil.
When did I say that? When did I say that at all? I didn't say it absolves him or her. I'm saying that when you have unprotected sex, you're taking a responsibility. Responsibility comes on you when you make that action. That's all I said. But again, not reading what I'm saying. So at this point, the person who responded, Mathman1ac, I'm guessing that's maniac.
Madcat, what does "they are both responsible for the STD" really mean anyway?
How about you read what I said, because I've explained it several times.
Are you saying that they're both immoral, or that they're both partook in unethical acts?
Well, yeah, it is a bit unethical to have an unprotected sex with a person you're dating without getting tested first. But not as bad as her cheating on him. That's more unethical.
It is not unethical not to ask questions. It is unethical to lie when asked a question. It is not unethical to have sex with a sexual partner without asking if they have an STD.
So what you're basically saying is that it's ethical to ask a person if they have an STD when you're having sex with them? Okay, I guess you're kind of correct on that it's not an ethical issue to find out if someone has an STD before, but did I ever say immoral?
There's a difference between kind of dumb and immoral, Mad Cat. It is unethical to have sex with a sexual partner who you've not informed you have an STD.
Okay, she didn't necessarily know she had an STD with this person. Women don't show symptoms with chlamydia. You're all attacking me, but you're ignoring that one little fact that she didn't know she had chlamydia. She didn't know she passed it on to him. It's not like she woke up from blackout sex and the guy she fucked said, oh, by the way, you have chlamydia now. Oh my God, I've got chlamydia. Well, I'm not going to tell my boyfriend because he's going to break up with me. I'll just let him continue to have sex with me and he can get it too, but he'll never know about it. Do you really think that's what happened? that she found out she got chlamydia from this guy and decided not to tell her boyfriend, more than likely she didn't show any symptoms of chlamydia, which is actually a very, very common thing that happens to women who have chlamydia. So he continues,
what is he responsible for, Mad Cat, for not asking his girlfriend if she had acquired an STD after a shit-faced drunken soiree, or not taking a blood or stool sample to the nearest forensic lab for a 100-point analysis the moment she walked through the door?
No, I didn't fucking say that. Go back and read what I said. I've explained it. He had unprotected sex. He took a risk. And if he got an STD because of taking that risk, he holds a responsibility to that. Now, I'm not saying he holds 100% responsibility. Hell, if we want to hold responsibilities here based on percentage points, I say that she's 75% responsible for what happened and he's 25% responsible. I'm not saying that he is overly wrong in this situation, but he holds a responsibility of what happens to himself because he had unprotected sex. But my God, I mean, are you really this stupid? Are both of you this stupid, Mathmaniac and Daniel, that you can't figure out what it is that I'm saying? That he had unprotected sex with her, that he holds some responsibility. I mean, he had it within 3 months of a relationship, 4 months of a relationship. Does that seem right to you? Do you go around having unprotected sex with people? Let me tell you about a special thing called a condom. See, a condom protects you from getting sexually transmitted diseases. It also prevents you from getting women pregnant. Now, it's not 100%, but it's mostly foolproof. When you start having sex, it protects you. I guess this is like a strange concept to you that you don't know what protected sex is or how it works, or that when you have unprotected sex with a woman, you run the risk of getting an STD. He even stated it himself that he didn't really think that they were exclusive when she did this. Should she have told him, yes, I agree with you. She should have told him it was a breach of trust. Even taking the STD issue out of the equation, it was a breach of trust. She should have told him. He found out later. She had no intention of telling him. So there you go. He probably should have broken up with her over this issue. However, since he said, well, I don't really think our relationship was as exclusive at the beginning of the relationship, it's really hard-pressed for me to believe that someone would get an STD testing with their partner before they have sex with each other and then not even discuss the issue of whether or not that they're exclusive with each other. Doesn't seem like that could happen. That's why I'm willing to believe they didn't get STD testing done when they first started having unprotected sex with each other, and he ran the risk of getting it and taking her word for it that she was clean. Because it is still entirely possible that she got chlamydia from another person and not the guy she had sex with. And it is also possible, in fact, that she gave this guy chlamydia not knowing that she had it. But I'm willing to accept that she most likely got it from the guy that she had an affair with and gave it to her boyfriend and decided not to tell him, thinking that he would never know. That is most likely what happened. I mean, I don't know how much more crystal clear I can get. I'm seriously scared for both of you if you two don't know what the risks of unprotected sex is. You need to go to a high school and sit in a sex educational classroom to learn what unprotected sex is and what risks are involved in that, and why it is your responsibility to protect yourself from an STD. He holds some responsibility of the issue because he had unprotected sex with her. You're ready to say she's 100% wrong based on his words alone and not even consider that there might be more to this story or that there might be some responsibility on his end. You're not willing to do that. You're only taking one side of the issue and only focusing on, oh, he's the victim in all of this. And that woman was so evil for what she's done. But he's a victim. Oh no, we should protect him. Seriously, that's what it sounds like to me when you talk. I hope you've seen this. I hope you've watched this. And I hope really hope that you finally understand what my point of view is.